Wuwei is a Taoist concept that is life-changing and can be applied to any life situation. It is deeply relieving, it's humbling, and it gets you to become one with nature's flow rather than conditioned man's sense of control and exertion, which is quite ridiculous. Wuwei means inaction. Now, that might sound strange. Does that mean nothingness? Does that mean laziness? Well, wuwei isn't laziness. Although stillness and doing nothingness is a concentrated, relaxed means of performing basic wuwei, wuwei rather ties into a now commonly explored psychological topic called flow states, where essentially when we really are immersed in doing something that we lose sense of effort, time, and force by flowing naturally with the action we're performing. And so wuwei is exactly that. Wuwei is a non-action. You can perform action with a state of non-action. Winnie the Pooh says something along the lines of, somethingness always comes from nothingness. And an easy way to say this is to reword it as, somethingness always comes from the mental state of nothingness and becoming fluid. While not talked about all that much, Neville's ability as an actor and as a dancer influences in many ways the style of manifesting that he presents. Neville talks a lot about states, which is like actors on a stage embodying a role, and uses a lot of dialogue on embodiment and releasing. Neville was described by a friend as a very smooth dancer, knowing how to move his body, flow with the music, and how he had immediate knowledge of how to immediately relax his body. And so when one dances and there's a strict, overly concentrated effort on solely form, solely technique and perfection, it often feels choppy and blocked. And likewise, when one acts and overdoes the motion, they essentially are trying too hard. We all can tell it's overacting. Well, they're simply overdoing it, right? And they kind of have to surrender to the flow. Likewise, dancing and acting most likely gave Neville the ability to enter a flow state and surrender with the law. Now, with the law, especially to beginners, we've heard about the term let go, and it can be a sense of frustration. We're supposed to persist and focus, and then somehow also let go. It can be confusing because the terminology might not be best described. Let's use an analogy to describe what people mean in most cases when they describe the law as both focus/discipline and as letting go/release. When we ride a bicycle, this is almost the perfect example. We have to practice at the bicycle, right? We have to figure out how to put our feet on the pedals, keep our balance and stay on it, and achieve a flowing coordination of ourselves and the bicycle. So naturally, beginners might fail a couple times, fall. Similarly, maybe we react to the 3D, feel uncertain about imagination, and that's completely okay. Do you expect a kid to ride the bicycle the first time perfectly when they haven't mastered it yet? No. And so what we discover as well is that the kid eventually learns how to not force the action of being on the bicycle. Similarly, we have to discover ourselves how to not be forceful when we imagine or affirm, and we can only do that by learning ourselves. It helps and is greatly, greatly beneficial to read about it, to read about wuwei, but we can only know when we encounter the moment where the relationship between flow and action click, when we finally know how to start performing action with the essence of non-action. I can show you the bike, but it's your ability to become one with flow, to actually coordinate and mentally, to coordinate mentally and physically yourself and the bike. So you learning the way the mind and the bicycle coordinate is when you finally know how to let go and enter that state. We somehow unconsciously enter a state of letting go, where it all clicks, where both the mind and the bicycle become in sync. We naturally are at a state of balancing ourselves on the bike. We naturally understand the speed and tempo of the bike, and naturally we are in sync with it. So letting go isn't really about dropping your desire completely. It's just that you in imagination enter a flow state. When you imagine, you encounter a sense of peace and unity with your desired imaginal act. You are one with the flow. You let go of external control. You're not saying, where is it? You may even feel so fulfilled inwardly that you almost get sick thinking of your desire. You're essentially impudent to your desire, as Neville says. I remember as a high school athlete, the older I got in age, the more I was able to feel in control in my mind and be more present. And essentially, the more present I became, the better at the sport I played. The best moments I had playing soccer or running track was my wuwei moments, where I completely surrendered to this inward flow that almost seamlessly meant I was able to perform without forcing. Now, there was a heavy sense of coordination and focus, but it's smooth very naturally. It felt instinctive. Steph Curry, for example, a Golden State Warrior basketball player, known for being an amazing player, says he practices his moves over and over until they become seamless. And I've always loved how his playstyle looks so effortless. While there is coordinated concentration, while there is focus and effort, that focus and effort is geared towards an effortless transition. And so some people say to, keep putting in the work and imagining even if you are at a state of surrender. And that's completely up to you. You can decide on that. But the idea is that you enter a flow state with the external and the imaginal. You're open to receiving because you aren't worried about 3D and how it adds up or tunes itself to your desires fulfillment. You're riding the waves of 3D, knowing you're reaching that shore, right? I like to dance for fun myself, and I was once dancing and I found myself trip up a bit, but I incorporated that into my dance and allowed me to make a move I wouldn't have thought of before, had I not become fluid with the moment and improvised with my trip. I thought of Neville in my head, and an idea came to me is that when you dance with life, you see the ups and downs as equal expressions to fluidity. And so when you fall, you let it flow into your beautiful movement of going upwards. And so essentially that's what kind of the idea of riding the waves are, the idea of surrender, the idea of wuwei. And it taught me a new dimension of manifesting, to see each and every aspect of the journey as aiding my ability in becoming one with the fluidity to manifest. And that kind of aspect of manifesting is similar to how an artist or a dancer looks at their craft, and how a Taoist essentially implements wuwei. And I think when we really become one with that wuwei state, everything just becomes easier. We let go a lot of control, and so we become more like artists in that sense. And when we become an artist, it's effortless, it's seamless, it's enjoyable. It's not something that we're like not having fun with.